Okay, in lesson 7, we're going to be, for the first time, trying to show them how to multiply fractions by whole numbers using tape diagrams. And we're actually going to be using more division at this point because that's something they're familiar with to show them. And we're going to be using the word of. So we'll say find 1/3 of another number. And the role for this lesson is try to get them to associate of with multiply. They're actually multiplying a fraction by a whole number. In number 1, it says 1/4 of 24. And what they've done is they drew a tape diagram, and the total was 24 on top. And since it says 1/4 of, they split it into fourths, and they're looking for this one piece. And what they did is they say, okay, well then what I can do is I can do 24, there's 4 units equals 24. So 24 divided by 4 equals 6. So this 1/4 would be 6. So 1/4 of 24 equals 6. Now under B, we're looking for 1/4 of 48. Same thing, we draw a tape diagram. The total being 48. Since it's quarters, we're going to split it into fourths. And we're looking for 1/4 of it. So since we're looking for 1/4 of it, we would take 48 divided by 4, which equals 48 fourths, which equals 12. So each one would equal 12. So 1/4 of 48 would be 12. On C is the first time we're looking for something more than just one, a unit of 1. But we're going to do the problem exactly the same way. A tape diagram. We're going to put our total on top. And if you notice, they put a multiplication sign here this time. So instead of 1/4 of 24, we're saying 2/3 times 18. But that's the same thing. 1/4 of and 2/3 times 18 are the same result. Now this one where it says thirds, so we're going to split it into thirds. Well, we're looking for what 2/3 is. But in order to find 2/3, we're still going to take 18 divided by 3, which equals 18 thirds. Now 18 thirds equals 6. So if one unit equals 6, the second unit would equal 6, and this one's 6. 2/3 of them would be 12. So 2/3 of 18 would be 12. Our last one says 2/6 of 18, 2/6 times 18. And drawing our tape diagram. Once again, our whole number going on top, which is 18. It says we're split into 6, so I'm going to split it into thirds. Then I'll split the thirds into 6. And it says we're looking for 2/6, which would be here. But in order to solve it, we're going to go with 18 divided by 6, which equals 18/6, which we know equals 3. So since each one equals 3, we know that 2/6 of 18 would equal 6. All right. Now we have 3/7 times 49. So our total is 49. It says sevenths, so we're going to split them into sevenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll have to put another one on there. 7. And we're looking for 3/7, but we're still going to solve for a unit of 1 in order to solve it. So we're going to go 49 divided by 7, because there's 7 units, which equals 49/7, which equals 7. So we know that each one would be 7. But since we're looking for 3/7, we know 3 times 7 equals 21. So 3/7 of 49 would equal 21. Now our numbers are getting a lot larger over here. Now we know our total is 120. It says tenths. So we're going to split it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and we're looking for 3/10. So we know that we have 120 divided by 10, which equals 120 over 10. Using what we know about multiplying and dividing, we can take out the common factors of 10, and we know that equals 12. So now we know each one is equal to 12. So now we got 12 times 3, which equals 36. So 3/10 of 120 would be 36. On G, so again, putting your top of 31, we're splitting it into thirds. This time we are looking for 1/3. So we know we have 31 divided by 3, which equals 31 thirds, which equals 10 and 1/3. And I know that because 3 goes into 31 10 times, which is 30, and 1 left over, 1/3. So we know each one of these is going to be 10 1/3. So we know that 1/3 of 31 would equal 10 and 1/3. Our last problem, our total is 20. We're splitting this into fifths. We're looking for 2/5. But we're still solving for this unit of 1. So we know we have 20 divided by 5, which equals 20/5, which equals 4. So we know we have 4 in each. And we're looking for 2/5, so we know 4 times 2 equals 8. So 2/5 of 20 would equal 8. On I, the total is 25, and we're splitting it into fourths, and we're looking for 1/4. You notice I always draw what I'm looking for so I can keep track and make sure I give the right answer. So we know we have 25 divided by 4 to find that unit, and you know that's equal to 25/4, which we know that would go in there 6 times, because 6 times 4 would be 24, leaves us 1 left over, so it'll be 1/4. So it equals 6 1/4. On our next one, total once again is 25, and we're splitting it up into quarters again, but this time we're looking for 3/4. But once again, we're still going to go 25 divided by 4, which equals 25/4, which equals 10 1/4, which means that's at 1/4 is 10 1/4. Excuse me, 6 1/4. Just thinking of a problem ahead of time. So since we know that's 6 1/4, now we have 6 1/4 times 3, which I can go 3 times 6 is 18, and then I have 3 times 1/4, which is 1 times 3 over 4, which equals 3/4. So it's going to be 18 3/4. K says 3/4 of a number is 27. What is the number? Okay, this is just kind of put it into a word problem. We know we're still looking for part of a whole. The whole is 27. We're going to split it into fourths, and we're looking for 3/4 of it. So we know 27 divided by 4 equals 27/4. 27/4 equals, well, I know 4 times 6 is 24, 4 times 7 is 28, so that's too much. So it has to be 6, and with 3 left over in my denominator. So each one's going to be equal to 6 3/4. Now if I just add these up, I got 6, 12, 18 for my whole numbers, And now I'm going to add my quarters, 3, 6, 9 quarters, which I know that would equal to 18, and 4 we're going to 9 2 times with 1 left over. So it would equal 20 and 1/4. The last one over here, we know we're looking for 2/5 of 14. We're looking for 2/5. Now, we got 14, we're dividing it into 5 sections, so it ends up being 14/5, which 5 going to go into 14 2 times, there's 4 left over, and 4/5. So we know that's 2 and 4/5. So now we know that 2/5 of 14, we add them together because we got 2 and 4/5 plus 2 and 4/5, which equals 4 and 8/5, which equals 5 and 3/5. 2. Solve using tape diagrams. A skating rink sold 66 tickets. Of these, 2/3 of the children's tickets and the rest were adult tickets. What total number of adult tickets were sold? Now, this is where a tape diagram comes into play. Let me draw another one. And we know the total here were 66 tickets. And it says 2/3 of them were children's. And leaves the remaining being for adults. And since this has to be a whole, if this is 2/3, I know the adults were 1/3. Okay. And now the question wants to know what total number of adult tickets were sold. Right here, that's what we're looking for. So I want to know what 1/3 of 66 is. So 66 divided by 3 equals 66 thirds. I can see 3 going to 3 one time, 3 going to 66 22 times, which equals 22 first, which equals 22. So 1/3 would equal 22. And that means 2/3 would have to equal 44. And if you added them up, you'd end up with 66 tickets. Okay. A straight angle is split into 2 smaller angles as shown. The smaller angles measures 1/6 of the straight angle. What is the angle value of angle A? Well, this is relying that you remember that a straight angle is 180 degrees. So when we do our tape diagram, our total is a straight angle, which is 180. Then we have this thing split into 2. This one here, which is a smaller angle, was 1/6. This one here was angle A. And for this to be a whole, if it's 1/6, angle A has to be 5/6. Now, in order to solve this, we're going to take 180 divided by 6, because it's 6, which equals 180 over 6. And I look for commons. I can see that the 6 will go into 6 one time. 6 will go 180 30 times. So this equals 30. So that means that 1/6, the smaller angle A is 30. Well, we can see the angle A is 5 times that. So it's going to be 30 times 5, which equals 150. So angle A was 150 degrees. And you can see if we added them up, 150 and 30, we get 180, which is our total angle. C. Annabelle and Eric made 17 ounces of pizza dough. They used 5/8 of the dough to make pizza and used the rest to make calzones. What is the difference between the amount of dough they used to make pizza and the amount of dough they used to make calzones? Now this is a tricky word problem. So we're going to make sure that we draw a tape diagram for it. We're going to label everything, and we're going to make sure we annotate on our drawing exactly what they're looking for. So let's start again. I'm going to put my tape diagram here, and then we're going to go back through and we're going to read through it again. It says Ann Blair made 17 ounces of pizza dough. So that's our total, 17. They used 5/8 of the dough to make pizza. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one here. And I know this is 5/8, and this was to make pizza. And use the rest to make calzone. So this was calzone. Now, looking at this is 5/8. This has to equal 1 whole, so calzones had to be 3/8. Now, what was the difference between the amount of dough they used to make pizza and the amount of dough they used to make calzones? So now I've got to solve for each one of them. So we're going to do this the same way. We've been doing it. We're going to take 17 divided by, we're going to split them into 8, so we're dividing it by 8 to find a unit of 1, which equals 17/8, which equals 1, because 8 will go into 17 one time, with 9 left over. Oh, that's not right, because 9 left over would be 9/8. So we obviously, this here could be 2 1/8. So now we know that 1/8 is equal to 2 1/8. Now we know the pizza was 5 times that. So we got 2 1/8 times 5. And what we can do is we can go to 2 1/8 plus 2 1/8 plus 2 1/8 plus 2 1/8 plus 2 1/8. Which we add them up, we can go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And add up our 8s. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this was equal to 10 5/8 ounces. Now the 3/8, that's multiplying by 3. So now we have 2 1/8 times 3, which is 2 1/8 plus 2 1/8 plus 2 1/8, which equals 6 3/8. So we know this is equal to 6 3/8 ounces. Now the question coming back up here, they want to know the difference between the amount. So even though we've solved it, now they want to know the difference in the amount. So we've got to take 10 5/8 and subtract 6 3/8. And we see 10 minus 6 gives us 4. 5/8 minus 3/8 gives us 2/8. So the difference was 4 2/8. Now, even though that is a good answer, we see that 2/8 can be reduced, because I know this is 2 times 1, and this would be 2 times 4 to get 8. Take them out, and I get 1/4. So this is simplified to be 4 1/4. D. The New York Rangers hockey team won 3/4 of their games last season. If they lost 21 games, how many games did they play in the entire season? Okay, so let's go ahead and draw. And the top of it is total games, which we don't know what that is. That's what they're asking us to solve. Then they said they won 3/4. And that means that they lost 1/4. And it says if they lost 21 games. Well, 1/4, they're telling us right there, equals 21. So in order to solve for 3/4, we know that's going to be 3 times 21, which equals 63. Now to find the total games, we have 63 plus 21, which is going to give us 84. Total games was 84.